Hi, you're watching Spurs Rewind. I'm Vicky Villarreal. Unfortunately, Rocky isn't able to be with us today, but I have Joe Garcia back with us again. Hi, Joe.
Hey, Vicky. Glad to be back
Hey.
here. And we also are
Yes,
going to be joined by another person as well.
yes. We also have Evan Townsend who does draft analysis for Project Spurs. How are you doing, Evan?
Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm doing well.
Yes.
Awesome. Good to have you. Yeah, so we've got lots of stuff to talk about today. One thing I'm really interested in talking about with both of you is the young guys on the Spurs roster, a few of them in particular, starting off with Jeremy Sohan. He's been doing great, really consistent for a rookie, looking pretty dependable, averaging 10 points per game on 44.8% shooting and 4.9 rebounds a game. So I just want to get a little insight. What are some of your thoughts on his development so far, Joe?
Well, the one thing that I've liked about Jeremy Sohan is, he has good hands. And that's one thing that people don't understand about him. Besides what you're seeing out there on the court from his defensive prowess, I've seen him be able, and he's running up and down the court or he's doing some backdoor cuts and he's able to catch the passes that some of these players have been throwing him, lobs or whatnot. And he just catches it mid stride, doesn't miss a beat, and is able to finish either with a dunk or a layup. The other thing is you're starting to see more of his offensive game come to fruition now. He wasn't, really comfortable in the beginning of the year, but he's been working on his shot. It shows from the stripe, from the free throw line. And not only that, but he's starting to put together what looks like it could develop into a solid mid-range jumper. So that's good. As a Spurs fan, you're looking to see some of the little intangibles that he's doing beyond just, his defensive game. So if he can go ahead and develop either a mid-range jumper or get good at just shooting the ball, period, that's going to be good for him and for the team because that will actually draw the defense from the opposing team on him, and he can be able to go ahead and pass the ball at that point, or he can go ahead and score, at will. So I like that. I like that aspect of his game.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any other? What are you noticing about Jeremy's recent growth?
Yeah, so Jeremy was my guy for most of the draft process. I know a lot of Spurs fans kind of harp on him for his shot before and after he went one-handed. A lot of people were disappointed that Chip England is not walking through that door, is not helping him. But, ideally, the Spurs have done a really
Yeah.
good job of giving him responsibilities that he's keen on working on, and he's not afraid to step up in any scenario. We've seen him at times guard the best best guards, best all-star guards on the perimeter, from Steph Curry to Damian Lillard. He got cooked a few
Hmm.
times, but it's just it's a process, and being able to step up, be honestly the defensive glue guy for this team. Not a lot of people realize that. When Stanley Johnson was in town for a short rip, even guys like Isaiah Roby, Katie Bates-Diop, Jamie Sohan has done just as well on defense as a rookie, as a teenager, and ideally, people like to say, "Oh, he was a bust at first. He was this and that." He's given the craziest, like I said, responsibilities day in and day out, and his confidence
Yeah.
has grown, throughout the whole season. Well deserved, rookie All Star. Was it Rising Stars bid? Sorry, well deserved. Showed out very well. He's our athletic guy that is, super dual. I call him the Polish Army knife, not Swiss. And he's basically just stepped up in every single aspect, and has definitely exceeded expectations. So I'm super excited to see what we get from him in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I like that. The Polish army knife. I want to coin that. Let's do it. Let's make it his name.
I'm sure we're going to see it on
um,
some shirts or something right after somebody sees it.
yeah, some shirts. That would be great. Another young player that one of the most recent additions to the Spurs full roster. Charles Bassey getting his full time contract now at the Spurs, and in his 27 games so far, being the two-way and then now full-time on the roster, he's averaging 5.1 points a game, 5.6 rebounds a game, and overall he's looking like a pretty solid big man. Um, what do you guys see? I'll go to you first, Evan, on this one. What do you see with him as a big man on the roster? Is there a future for him on the Spurs? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. Charles Bassey we pretty much got for free. Thank God to thank you to the Philadelphia 76ers for mismanaging him. Doc Rivers didn't give any playing time. He was stuck in the G League, and he was dominating even last year for most of the year. Being a little heavier for an undersized center, he's only 6'9", 6'10" with shoes. He's definitely exceeded expectations this year, but it's all due to his hard work and his effort. The minute he got signed, I forgot who in the Product Spurs group chat was texting me like, "This guy's in my jujitsu studio working out, hitting the weights," and that was day 2 when he was here. Obviously, he's from the San Antonio area, went to high school out here. Back at home, feels wanted. Had some great moments in the NBA, in the association that is with the Spurs before being sent back and forth to the G League. Never complained once. Plays his heart out. And here's the thing: you don't give centers like that contract to be a third string center. That means he's the backup center for the future, at least for now.
Right.
Now, Zach Collins is the starting center. People like to harp on him, but he's honestly probably like a fringe, could be starter, shouldn't be starter, but we're the worst team in the NBA right now. So he's fine. But what does that mean for Charles Bassey? What does that mean if we get Victor Wembanyama? What does that mean if we have to draft another center that just falls into our lap? Him being able to switch on the perimeter to guard 3 through 5, not 1 through. He can't guard guards, but having Charles being super versatile, being willing to fill any role and play to the best of his ability every single night, you can't deny that he's definitely deserving of that contract. And like I said, I'm super excited to see what we get from him in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Do you agree, Joe? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, the thing with Charles Bassey versus Zach Collins is age there, and his youthfulness. Charles Bassey's like 22 years old. You look at Zach Collins, he's 25. If the Spurs wind up getting that number 1 pick and they'll say they do go ahead and select one Victor Wembanyama, for all intents and purposes, that would be your starting center, and then you can have Charles Bassey, who's younger than one Zach Collins, come out and be your backup, but we'll see what the Spurs decide to do at that point. But, having Zach Collins as a third option is not bad at all as well. So, you like Charles Bassey's game. You like his effort that he puts out there. He really does work hard at his craft, so he's a stereotypical Spurs player, somebody who's just going to keep their head down, do what they're told, and work hard at it. So it's not a surprise that they went ahead and threw a contract at him. So I look forward to seeing more of his development. And I think he's going to be a solid addition to the Spurs squad for the future.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Liking what I see with him and looking forward to seeing how he continues developing with the Spurs. So moving on a little bit, I want to talk about Devin Vassell. Been out recovering from his knee surgery, but according to Jeff McDonald at the Express News, he's progressed to 3-on-3 workouts. So my question is, with just about a month and a half to go in the season, do you think we're going to see Devin back on the active roster before the end of the season? And I'll start with you, Joe. What do you think?
I think we will see him back because Coach Pop had already announced that, he expects him to come back sometime before the season ends. The Spurs had 23 games in the season left before they played the Mavericks. Now it's 22 games in the season. And you already saw him, per Twitter is where I went ahead and saw this. And I believe it was, I don't know if it was Jeff McDonald or it was Tom Osborne, one of those guys that I saw the video that they had shown of him in practice. And he was already doing, 3-on-3 training. So he's getting really close to making a return. But if he does return to the lineup, expect him to be on a minutes restriction. Will it translate into the Spurs going on like a 2 or 3 game win streak? Probably not. It's going to be hard pressed for them to win 5 games before the season ends. But either way, I think Devin gives him a chance to win a few more games, maybe 1 or 2 more. So you still like to see Devin in the lineup and just, at least getting himself, trying to get himself back into that mentality before the offseason hits.
Yeah, I agree. That makes sense. Do you have anything to add to that, Evan? Do you disagree with what Joe's saying?
Yeah, the Spurs have played a very good game of load management this season. But Devin Vassell was on record. I believe it was Jazz that may have asked him the question, how is your knee? And he's saying, I'm in a little bit of pain, but it's all right. I'm pushing through. And you really don't want to hear that from your best player on your current team, on the worst team in the NBA. You'd rather him just sit out. He had surgery in New York in January. We haven't heard before the reports this past week or this last week that he's back in warm-ups, he's back doing 3-on-3s, and if we do see him for a couple games, that's cool, that's good, but we're gonna see one of those random super full roster injury updates where it's just like left arm contusion, right elbow bruise, and like I can't we don't know if this is legit or not, but we do know that the Spurs, like I said earlier, are doing a really good job of managing roles and giving guys, putting guys in position to succeed, also while giving like the team and the player a fair analysis and the time to fulfill what role that they want to see themselves in. With Devin being out, I know we're gonna talk about him in a second, but with Devin being out, we probably would not have seen the Malachi Branham show the past few weeks. Honestly, a lot of people have even said that he's, solidified himself as the second best player on the current roster, which is kind of crazy to think of. But the stats really don't lie. So, but yeah, I know we had to. I know you wanted to leeway into him, so I gotta stop.
Yeah, if you want to talk a little bit about Malachi, yeah, go ahead. Let's talk about him. What are some thoughts on him right now? And I guess being one of the youngest guys right now. Of course, this is a super young roster. What do you expect from him going forward? And then, potentially with the new draft picks coming along, has he secured something in your eyes for a long-term Spurs spot?
Oh, without a doubt, he's definitely, at least going to be, I say the second unit killer, the sixth man of the future. I don't think anybody's going to take that role from him. Being the 3-level scorer, being super confident. He did have a stint in the G League just to get adjusted to the NBA speed. Came back, didn't get a lot of minutes to start the season, which is kind of disappointing. But wasn't down on himself. The minute the opportunity came, he was honestly ready, and his style of play is fairly unique. He's not the most athletic, but he utilizes his super long wingspan. I believe it's 7 feet, 7 feet if I'm not mistaken, to use his elbow to get to punch guys in the gut as he's driving, pull up mid range, the up and unders, the finesse plays. It's really an old school like Michael Redd, the Chris Middleton type of style of play. Everyone likes to compare him to those type of guys, but he's really his own unique prospect. One thing I want to talk about is that he is getting targeted on defense. Now, he's not the worst defender, but he does kind of have some slow feet for a wing. Not, like I said, not the most athletic, kind of maybe needs to hit a few salsa dances, get his hips a little nimble there. But he's getting targeted, and as of right now, he's ranked on all the LeBron categories, all the types of statistics. He's literally ranked the worst defender in the NBA out of all the players, just because.
Oh no.
Yeah, because yeah, I know, but as of right now, it's just the volume, because he's only played so many games. He's obviously gotten a lot more minutes recently with Devin being out, but yeah, he's definitely exceeded expectations. And like I said, I would not, I'm not on that train that he's the second best player on the current roster, but he's definitely showcasing that, hey, he can score the ball. He's not afraid of the moment, and like I said, having a wing that can score on all 3 levels confidently day in and day out. You cannot harp on that at all. Super, super efficient.
Yeah, let's go
the
ahead and
Spurs
get
need
Jazz.
that.
Jazz just joined us here too. So
Oh, Jazz.
just talking about.
Guys, sorry.
Hello.
We're just talking about Devin Vassell and your I guess question that you asked him in regards to how his knee was feeling, and he said he was still in a little bit of pain. But now that we've seen a video of him coming back and participating on 3-on-3 workouts, do you anticipate that he'll be returning before the season ends? There's like 22 games left in the season, or do you think the Spurs will sit him out?
I think what Pop said in the interview about him coming back around the first home game is pretty accurate. I don't see And it's not even really because of where he is with his healing process, or even just having to become acclimated to a whole new roster in a sense. I think it's also something that plays a big factor is just his track record when facing adversity. I don't see him being the type of player who would even want to sit out the remainder of the year. If he was given the option, I feel like he would choose to play. Like if that question was even asked. So either way, whether he's told he's good to go, they give him the green light and they say, okay, you're good. I think that's just what's going to happen. Like he's going to be back before the end of the season. So I feel like all Spurs fans don't even bank on him not coming back. Even if you're banking on him being out a little bit longer, that may be a better bet than him sitting out for the rest of the season. He's just not going to do that.
Well, I also got to ask you one more question here, Jess. Do you think the Spurs losing streak will continue? Because right now they're already at 15 games in a row that they've lost. Do you see an end in sight anywhere?
I think, if I be honest, I think Houston, it might break either with the first game being at home or the second game being away. I think that'll kind of prove where we are at the bottom, because right now everybody's looking more at the bottom rankings than the top. Nobody is really even thinking about the finals. Like some are, but like real fans aren't even concerned about the finals. We're concerned about who's the closest to, of course, Victor Wembanyama. So I personally think the Houston game with Devin back in, and if majority of the team is healthy, that we could break the streak with at least one of those. That's just my guess. That's my best guess.
Yeah, that would be a moral victory for us, Vicky.
I don't even know anymore. I feel like they lose and I'm like, okay, good. And they win and I'm like, oh, that's nice. But goal is
the prize is that number one pick. They won the number one overall pick.
Exactly. But those Houston games are going to be interesting because it's going to be like, trying so hard to lose. That's just, I guess.
So I think that's a good segue for you to go ahead and move into your next topic.
Definitely. I have. Okay, so I read that ESPN released a 2024 mock draft. So next year, 2024 mock draft created by Jonathan Givney, which predicts the Spurs to have the number one pick in 2024. I saw that and I was like, why? And I wanted to I want to go to you, Evan, first on this to ask, why do you think they would predict that the Spurs, who have a pretty good shot at getting a very high pick this season, why would they be bad enough again in a year to get another shot at the top?
Yeah, there's no guarantee the Spurs are going to get Victor or Scoot Henderson. They're really like the solidified top two guys. The franchise change alters, tier some guy that's going to give you a Luka Doncic type of impact year one, 25 point per game threats year one. And after that, it's more the lines of maybe 15 point per game guys that really aren't in the race to win Rookie of the Year. And, if we don't land one of those guys, it's almost a guarantee we're in the same realm, in the same tier for another season. Now, this is only year one of the tank, believe it or not. A lot of people have been saying we've been tanking with DeJounte, or we're analyzing who can be a top free agent to solidify ourselves as not a playing team or get ourselves out of that middle of the NBA tier. But, we're going to be at the bottom for a while, and it's gonna suck. I would rather see my team win, but the moral wins are seeing guys that are fulfilling roles that and are exceeding expectations, like I've said all show long, and at the end of the day, maybe result in a close loss or maybe not a blowout. That's the real win. We really don't want to stack up as many wins as possible because, as Jazz was just saying, we play the Rockets in a few weeks. They might have a great chance of getting one of the top two picks, and there's only a 14% chance at the end of the day. So, the the ESPN mocks have a funny way of linking guys they fit are good fits, but you know they obviously want to link us to like the top international prospect. And I did see that. I don't really agree with who they put there at number one, but again, it's a far year plus from now, what, 16, 17 months. I guarantee you now, this right now, Bronny James will not be a top 10 pick. They didn't even edit the EYBL shirt he was having under that Orlando Magic graphic. I was like, yeah, this is just lazy. So yeah.
Yeah, I thought of that too. I was like, top 10? But what are your thoughts on this, Jazz? Do you have anything else to add?
I think it's pretty much what Evan said. Is just where we are. When you're in the building phase, it's more than just basketball. So there's still chemistry that has to be worked out. Especially, situations like Trey has been out for the last few games. He's gonna have to come back in, get acclimated. Anything with injury happening that can kind of make the process kind of veer off, and then you have to get back on. Even though there will be a couple of months per se for Devin to get acclimated again, you're still playing with a whole new roster, and then that's not including the draft, and then you're not just drafting in the first round, so it's not like we're only going to get one pick in a few months. We're going to get at least three new people that we have to get into the mix. So all the things that they were working on now, they're going to have to start all over and do again. With a different team, and actually with less veterans than they had before, with Jakob being gone, and possibly a couple more veterans that may be gone before we even start the next season. So I'm not saying that we're going to be as bad. I would like to hope we aren't going to be as bad. I think the Spurs have a group of guys that are willing to put in the work to kind of surprise everybody like they did at the beginning of this season. It's just a matter of how often they can do it. So they may have more wins next season, they may not. But I do think they could be still somewhere at the bottom. However, I'm hoping it's not as low as it is now. Maybe a play-in, but I wouldn't bank on that next season either.
Yeah, that's rough. It's going to be rough for a while. So one last thing I did want to ask: are there any new updates for the draft coming up, Evan? Anything you're hearing? Any mumblings? Anything like that?
Oh yeah, for sure. There's a lot of speculation of even a lot of international prospects that have been linked to the Spurs recently. Ryan Rupert is a athletic wing playing for the New Zealand Breakers. He's a French prospect. Went over to New Zealand literally to learn better English. Has missed most of the season with the injury. Came back. The team is in the finals, the championship version of their finals. It's a best out of three series, and it's played very well. He's kind of rising up of draft boards as of late. Kind of people are kind of catching up on film of his because he's missed a lot of time. But that 3-and-D athletic kind of a Marjan Beauchamp type of prospect that I talked about last year, you really can't harp on. You really can't miss if he falls to you in the second round. But he's really like a top 20 guy. Me and Joe, thanks to Joe, that is, I released a really great graphic, a really good big board last week. I was pretty much dogged in my DMs saying, how could you have Jarace Walker top 10? Jarace Walker is a top 5 prospect. And, people are, for the most part, right. A lot of talk has been, can guys, what is the new prototype of the NBA? What is the most highest commodity you can have for somebody that can switch on multiple guys, be like I said, the Swiss or Polish Army knife like Jeremy Sohan, and that is really Jarace Walker. At one point, he was shooting 44% from 3. He can guard 1 through 5. He's pretty much a smaller Bam Adebayo that can shoot, or a bigger, more stronger face-up Paul Millsap that is unselfish, that can only maybe average 15 points, but he's really like your solidified second option. And nothing's better, than a second option that knows his role, that won't complain. So yeah, he was really marked as like a top 15 guy, but now he's honestly a top 5 guy. A lot of people have him as top 3, as high above the Thompson twins, which I'm not that rich on, but yeah, look for a lot more
Nice.
prospect talk for the next few weeks. I know I'm a long ramble here, but yeah, we're gonna kill the content over the next few weeks. Only a couple
Yeah,
months
for
to the lottery, so
That's right. It's coming quickly. Thank you. Those are all really good insights. A lot to look out for and keep up to date on until the draft comes. And all Spurs fans, just keep watching, keep loving your team. But I want to thank all of you for joining us today. Thank you, Jazz. Thank you, Evan. Thanks, Joe, for hopping on as well. And for everyone watching, be sure, if you haven't already, to check out projectspurs.com. There's Spurs analysis from Jazz, draft analysis, Evan's got you covered, and a lot more to stay up to date on all the latest Spurs news. So thank you all. Thank you for joining me. This was really fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun having
all.
more than just, one other person or 2 other people. We had total of 4. Yeah, great episode.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you all. So thank you for watching Spurs Rewind. For myself, Joe, Jazz, and Evan. We'll see you next time.